Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're live. Mel Wells, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So, you can have the floor for the next few minutes because there's no point in me making a big long introduction because I probably won't get it right. So, tell us who you are, where you're from, what are you all about?
Sure, I'm an author. I'm a self-help author. I'm a health coach, eating psychology coach. Currently training as a sex, love, relationships coach as well.
Yes, we can talk about that.
Speaker. I run many retreats around the world, and I'm originally from Coventry, currently living in London, but really more identify as a world traveller.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No postcode.
Yeah, tend to not have a postcode. I tend to be a bit of everywhere.
So are you leaving London soon?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where are you off to?
We're moving to South America.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Costa Rica.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've not really shared that publicly yet, but there you go.
Yeah, you're moving down to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Jesus, it's supposed to be a beautiful part of the world. You're going a long way from home.
Yeah,
you've been before,
beautiful.
right?
I have been before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel more at home in nature though than I do in the city.
Yeah.
So even though I live in London at the moment and I have technically been here for 2 years, I'm always, that's the great thing about like building a business where you do have the freedom to travel, is it means you don't need to be in the city all the time to network. You can be on the other side of the world and still do plenty of networking.
Exactly, so. Yeah. And when you were in Hollyoaks, right? You were an actor when you were in your younger days, when you were 18, 19. I presume you're living in... No, wait, Hollyoaks is probably filmed up the country, is it?
It's in Liverpool, yeah. So that was my first career was, as an actress. I was on Hollyoaks for 2 years.
I'm going to stop you there a second. I was researching. You'd be an interesting conversation now to have this about. The word actress, I don't think exists anymore, does it?
The word actress.
Yeah, I think it's.
Does it not?
I think it's
just
actor. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I was looking up that a few months ago, and I think it's been implemented for a while, but I don't know.
Right.
I won't have it.
Did not know. There you go. Learn something new every day. Yeah, so I was in that world quite a young age, and it was a real gift because I really got that moment that I think a lot of people have at some point in their life where they go, oh, like I thought this was going to feel like XYZ and I've got all this money and like people are recognizing me and I'm on TV and oh, why am I still miserable? Like, why is this not making me happy? Why do I still feel depressed? Like, I thought this was supposed to be the answer to everything. And I think everyone has that moment at some point, whether they hit a certain milestone financially, whether they get a certain amount of recognition or followers or some kind of, what society deems successful, right? And they go, oh, it doesn't feel how I thought it would feel. And so I had that at a really young age, actually. And, it was a very glamorous lifestyle, was definitely, invited to a lot of parties with, very famous people and yachts and all this kind of champagne lifestyle. Yeah. And it's very, I've got to say, it's very empty. I don't know a single person in that world that finds deep sense of fulfillment from it. I think most people are looking for a deeper meaning. So grateful that I had that realization quite early in life. And the whole time that I was in that show and before the show as well, I was really struggling with anorexia and bulimia. So my weight was like really up and down. I was binging a lot. I was purging a lot. I was in a really dark place. And there wasn't really the help that I needed. No one was really speaking about mental health online at that point. This was like 10 years ago. It was very much like no one was really speaking about eating disorders. Everyone was just speaking about nutrition and food and health, and it was just starting to become popular. Like
10 years ago, people thought if you said mental health or eating disorders or anything like that, they were just like, you're just seeking attention. It was kind of it was that kind of attitude like 10 years ago. It only took for a few fatal cases to become more popular and people actually taking attention. But
and no one could actually get treatment unless they were so underweight that they needed to be hospitalized. There was no form of, like, it didn't, at least there wasn't commonly spoken about treatment in terms of like psychology and coaching and, help for many people that struggle, which is largely women.
And do you think you struggled because of your pressure on screen?
No, I mean, that definitely exacerbated it, but I think eating disorders tend to get triggered before that kind of thing would happen. So for me, I always had identified as a perfectionist. Different things happened in my life where I was trying to gain control over them, you know, different things with my parents and childhood, and then it ends up, you know, years pass by and then suddenly you are using food as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can't really track like exactly how it was formed, but definitely like in that industry, in the acting world, in the modeling world, it's very much it's all about how you look. It's all very competitive, and at the time it was a really unhealthy place for me to be in, already with an eating disorder, and many of the other people on the show were also struggling in similar ways.
Like, give me an example and we'll put perspective on it for listeners, like exactly what was your eating disorder, just like maybe a day that you went on a binge or something like that. Like, does that include just eating junk food all day long, or eating the same type of food all day long, or eating good food all day long? I don't know, just if we can get like a real life case study.
Yeah, sure. So mine was pretty extreme. So like I would like, for an example, if I had an event coming up on a weekend and it was a Monday, I would not eat from Monday to Friday. Let's say the event is on Friday night, I would completely starve myself from Monday to Friday. Sometimes I wouldn't even drink water. And then Friday night I would like have starved myself to fit into some dress or something ridiculous, and then I would go out, get completely hammered, order like 3 pizzas, tons of takeout, just shit food, and then that would be me just like binging and just eating like 5,000 calories in one sitting. Sometimes I would eat so much that I would like pass out from the pain, and then I would start again on Monday, try and, you know, reverse all the damage, or I would be throwing up all night, or at the gym just like working like just on the treadmill for hours. It was just hellish. It really does, when you're in that, and it really is an addiction. I mean, you're treating food like it's a drug, you know. But the thing is with eating disorders, unlike other addictions, is you can't just get sober, because food is what we need to survive and sustain us and nourish us. So we have to create a healthy relationship with food. We can't just, you know, quit.
No,
you know.
Exactly. And you don't believe in diets from your books. You
not anymore.
Seriously
No.
said that.
No, because I tried every diet, and what I really came to realize is diets don't actually address our psychological relationship with food. They don't address like who we are as an eater. They don't address our our conditioning around food, what we learned growing up, our belief system around food. It's all about just what is on your plate. So diets teach us, you know, eat this, don't eat that. But what they don't address is all of that comes with such an emotional response. You know, many people, many women have very emotional relationships with food. You know, we treat it as love, we treat it as comfort, we treat it as a reward. There's all of this underlying stuff that isn't being talked about, and diets can actually make us constantly feel like we're never doing good enough, constantly feel like we're failing, and ultimately they're just not sustainable.
Exactly, yeah. I actually, when I was in doing my master's a few years ago, my professor said to me, he said, during recessionary times, you see an increase in confectionery sales, because people feel though they deserve a reward for nearly disappointing days, really. I don't know what the term he uses, but he just said there were increase in kind of confectionery sales, because when people are down, obviously they go to their treats more often. But I know you highlight in your books The Goddess Revolution and Hungry for More, that the answer for it is self-love, and just going into the deeper meaning, whether that's more personal issues you have in your life. But self-love, I suppose, to me, what really is it? Like, I'm just saying, how can that stop my cravings, or how can it stop my my desire just to go after the foods I don't want to do? Like, how can I actually pinpoint, right, self-love is going to cure me from these craving problems and these binges? If we could define that and get your perspective, what it actually is.
Yeah, so ultimately what's happening when we experience those cravings is it's really a bigger, more meta problem that we're looking at here, and that is that we live in a society in which we don't know how to look inwards for the answers. We're constantly looking outwards. We're constantly looking for, we need something else to buy, we need something else to eat, we need, a glass of wine, we need a Snickers bar, we need to buy this new handbag, these new shoes. We're constantly looking outside of ourselves for the answers, right? And we have this internal dissatisfaction with ourselves, with our lives, and whatever this deep hunger is, it can't be solved with just fixing things from the outside in. It's an inside job, and that's why self-love is important. Now, self-love is really just about cultivating a relationship with ourselves that is healthy, being able to trust ourselves, being able to listen to ourselves, being able to really be with ourselves. And when you're in that moment of wanting to binge or wanting to smoke or wanting to get a glass of wine as a reward, or all these kind of very human urges that we find ourselves having, really what we're trying to do there is escape a feeling. We're trying to get out of some kind of discomfort. And if we can actually be with ourselves in that discomfort and actually be with all of those feelings that are arising, whether that is stress, whether that is, loneliness, if we can actually be with those feelings, we can actually heal ourselves. We can actually create a sense of self-love instead of just constantly trying to run from these uncomfortable feelings. And we actually grow when we sit in that discomfort. For me, when I was constantly acting out with food, binging, purging, I couldn't be with myself. I didn't know how to sit in that uncomfortable feeling of nothingness because it was just unbearable for me. I had to have something to fix it, and I didn't get into drugs. Food was my drug. But for a lot of people, they go out and they do a line of coke, or they have to surround themselves constantly with people, or, now obviously everyone's addicted to social media. So the slightest bit of anxiety, you just refresh your phone and you're, getting that hit of dopamine. So the answer is a deeper problem that we're facing here. So
I'm taking a wild guess here. Just say I struggle with food and I get a real urge, and an alternative, I might just say an emotional alternative for me, instead of going and getting chips or Chinese and splashing out on a huge dish, would something like going to see your mates or something instead, that kind of emotional bond, might get your mind off it and just build kind of inner what's the word, do you know when you go to see a mate and when you have a good chat or something, that sense of belonging and that sense of safeness, really, is it something like that, do you think, is a good way to stop cravings, just that kind of emotional bond with a friend or with a partner or whatever it is?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think how we can really shift our language around this is not trying to stop cravings or get rid of them, but actually ask them what they're here to teach us. So if you're getting a craving for a takeout, ask yourself, what am I really hungry for, on a deeper level? What do I think this craving is going to actually give me? Is it comfort? Is it love? Is it connection? Is it a feeling of reward? What am I trying to give myself by going out and getting this takeout? And there's nothing wrong with having a takeout, right? We all can go and have takeouts, right?
Tonight.
Absolutely. Okay. There's absolutely no judgment, right? But if it's becoming a problem in your life and you want to actually get to the root of it, instead of just constantly, beating yourself up for not having amazing willpower, because willpower is a really finite resource for all of us. So if we can actually go deeper and ask ourselves, well, what am I actually trying to give to myself in this moment? Is it that I'm trying to feel love? Is it that I just want connection? Is it that I want comfort? And we can start to find out ways that we can give ourselves that comfort without necessarily using food, because oftentimes the people that are struggling with food, and it's many, many, many people, it's as soon as you've done that, then you feel guilty. Then there's shame, there's guilt, there's why did I do that? I didn't really want that. I'll have to start again tomorrow. And we find ourselves in this battle, right? So if we can find what we are actually hungry for, what we're really needing, and find a deeper sense of meaning, a deeper sense of connection, love, by ourselves or, with friends, absolutely. But ultimately what we're looking for is for us to be able to fill that void by ourselves.
Right, I got it. And to go back to the books, and I suppose we have to go back again to when you actually started your business. So let's put on the business caps now. And when was it, 2012 or 13, you started your online business. And if you can go into what your online business is, and then we can move into your books.
Yeah, sure. So when I started out, I was a health coach. So I wanted to help women with their nutrition. And then I realised that the answer wasn't all about nutrition. It was actually about our psychology and our relationship with food. So then I trained as an eating psychology coach. But yeah, my business was a coaching practice first and foremost. Then I developed an online course, which led to a book deal, which led to a second book deal, which led to retreats. And now I run events, retreats, programs, have a membership. I'm writing my third book. And yeah, as I said, like training now in the sex, love, relationships field as well as like the next step.
Yeah. And I'd like to write a book someday, but I'd love to know what it actually entails. Is it just opening Microsoft Word and just blabbering down stuff, chapter 1?
I mean,
is there a proper structure, or is there a formula like I have to follow? Like, is there like a blueprint?
I mean, no one's actually ever given me a blueprint. I think it's obviously each author is different, and it is a very creative process, so everyone has a different process. But for me, I have to create a lot of structure before I start writing the book, otherwise it's just chaos.
Mine would be fucking chaos. It'd be just get it down as fast as possible, and then
it starts out as like just notes everywhere, and then it's like, oh, this could be a book. Let me try and find some kind of a structure for this. And I've actually had so many people reach out to me asking like how they can write a book. So I actually have started mentoring just a couple of people on helping them write their book and get it into a structure, because when you're the one writing it, you can be so full of self-doubt and judgment and is this shit? Is anyone going to read this? And sometimes you need someone else to kind of look at it and go, okay, this makes sense in this order, and this is also what's going to sell, and this is what people need, and this, that, the other.
Or else, did you ever see that movie Limitless, where he just takes a magic pill? Where he can,
that would be the dream.
So
that would be the dream. No, I actually heard Aaron Sorkin, who is a screenwriter, said, and I just think this is brilliant, he said, most writers spend 90% of the time not writing.
Just procrastinating.
Because they're procrastinating, they're facing the blocks, they're thinking about what they should be writing, and then the actual writing bit, that's a whole different kind.
Yeah, it's like, it must be so hard to motivate yourself when you know, wow. But anyway, when you get the books launched and then you see some passive income coming in and you see people actually enjoy it, making nice reviews, like it makes it all worthwhile. But even, it's amazing really, you wrote a book and it's amazing when you put out content, and like now you're mentoring people how to write their own books. You probably never in a million years thought you'd be doing that kind of consultancy, or it was never in the plan. What you have an online business, and I presume all online businesses, your business is going to be built on systems, virtual assistants, standardized programs that other people can follow. Am I right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So can we tell us a bit about the structure? Are we allowed to talk about the structure? What way you do your business?
Yeah.
Do you have like any physical employees, or do you just outsource a lot of it?
Yeah, so I have a team of 5, including myself. We don't have anyone full-time. Everyone is also the CEO of their own businesses. So I am their client, but we work together as a team in Slack. I run an annual retreat for them every year in Bali as well, for them to bond. And we're a good little team. And like a lot of the people that work on my team were also clients of mine in the first place. So read my book or joined my program, came on a retreat, and then, had a great transformation, had a great story, had great results from whatever the program was they did. And we began to work together.
Lovely.
The skills were needed, and
What's your favourite? I presume you've read books about this kind. Have you ever read Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Workweek? E-Myth Revisited. Like the 4-Hour Workweek is probably one of my favourite books of all time, and I think people can look at it from the wrong angle. It's not so much about a book to make money. It's a book about time. And Tim Ferriss really highlights that, like for you're running your own business, the the most valuable things you can be doing is working on strategy, innovation, idea generation for new productions. And like, it's not a good use of your time for admin and to do admin. And that's no disrespect to any of your assistants or anyone else's assistants, but when you're running your own business, you have to look at the strategy and innovation side of it. But the book as well, like, it just really highlights how valuable time is. And again, Malcolm Gladwell, if you know Malcolm Gladwell, what a fantastic author. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and his angle at time was so interesting. He was like, do you know if Taylor Swift, for example, was surrounded by bodyguards and going into a production studio or wherever she's going, the job of the bodyguard isn't exactly to protect her, it's actually to inject time into a situation.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like, people obviously they're there to protect her, but the injection of a few seconds allows her to get away, and that small little bit of time, that's what they're actually there for. It's a very interesting angle of coming at it.
Yeah.
But it can be applied to business too, that your time is so fucking valuable that you don't realise it, you know. And you probably don't, you're probably way more qualified than me to talk about time, so
well, you know, I actually see it more as energy management rather than time. So like, I think absolutely time is a very valuable asset, but like our energy is as well. So like, if I'm to spend all of my time in hustle mode and, you know, micromanaging people, that's also not very good for my energy. Like, it's actually best for me, especially because I am also the face of my brand and I have to show up every day as the front face, obviously. It's really important that I take care of my energy. So I can't spend all day telling people what to do and asking if things have been done, because it actually isn't very good for my energy. It makes me stressed.
Yeah.
You know, so even though I outsource a lot, which is really good and frees up a lot of time for me, it's actually always really important for me, the time that I do spend working on my business, I need to spend just as much time working on myself, you know, working on my personal growth, not just the growth of the business, you know. And I think I've fallen into the trap in the past of just putting loads of energy and time and money and resources into marketing and not actually putting enough time into my own well-being and my own health and my own spiritual growth, which ultimately grows the business from the inside out, you know. And so I think we can get swept up a bit in like the latest funnel and the latest gimmick and the latest app and plugin and all this kind of stuff. And actually, where I find my time is really well spent as a CEO is actually reading books, going to seminars, watching things on YouTube, listening, like expanding my mind. And then that spreads out into my business. It
falls under the innovation category. You're out in the field.
Yeah.
Checking what's out there. Yeah, exactly. And are you happy with the structure now, or like how big can, I suppose, a one woman brand get? Like, you know, I suppose like if you look at one man band, Tony Robbins probably has a huge team of 50 or 100 people working with it. I don't know what way it works, but are you going for mass production, or do you want to keep it low key?
That's a good question. I think my stance on this has probably changed in the last year. I think it's probably expected of everyone to just want to grow as big as possible. And I think last year I made a lot of hires at once and kind of tried to go wide and big instead of going deep. And so what I've done now is simplified a lot of the systems, made sure that each member of my team is really responsible for their own department and isn't needing constant guidance. So everyone's a lot more able to manage what their role is. And
you have to clearly define their role. That's the thing. That's the hard part, isn't it? You have to clearly define what they do, or else there's a huge mix-up.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I've had to learn all that as I've gone along. Right, you are only doing this. Like, if you need this is who you come to. Like, making sure all of that is really set. Yeah. So at the moment we're in a really good flow, which is great. Which means that now we can focus on, growth and automation. Yeah. But because I've been changing direction, I'm also now focused on changing the content that I'm writing. I'm writing a book, like a completely different topic, and I'm going to be coaching new clients. The retreats that I'm running are different, so we're in a bit of a transition in terms of content. and in terms of like what we are about, what we represent. But sure, in the back end of things, the systems are all running really well at the moment. We're just now focused on, getting more people in.
Sounds like you're expanding, Mel.
I suppose we are, but I'm not racing to expand, is what I'm saying. Like, I think there's no point in racing to expand if your systems are built on a house of cards. You've really got to have everything, working really well in the back end.
Slow growth, exactly, when you're ready to keep moving forward. And go into your retreats again. I know you're just off one from Bali. I was looking at your retreats and it's like, I know loads of skinny dipping. I was like, Jesus, I'm going to sign up for Mel's retreats.
Lots of naked women. Yeah, we have a lot of nudity. We're a lot of liberation, a lot of freedom, and a lot of women just feeling really at home in their own skin. It's a really beautiful experience. I love facilitating it.
Yeah, so like what day one check-in? What?
Day one naked. No, joking. No, so we have yoga and meditation in the mornings. We have breakfast. I run workshops that are about 3 hours per day. These workshops could be on self-love, eating psychology, body image. The new ones that I'm going to be running are going to be more about sensuality and feminine energy. And then afternoon time, we have lunch, we have coconuts, and then afternoon is like chilling by the pool. We have breath work that we have facilitators come in to do. We might do some kind of ceremony. We might have like a workshop on crystals or cacao. Like spiritual practices in the evening. And then this can lead into big dance parties, pool parties. And I don't know what it is about my retreats. People just want to get naked. Yeah. No, there's no booze. But there are lots of boobs.
I suppose it would defeat the whole purpose if you're boozing,
No, it's really healthy, and it's, really like helping people to unlock what's keeping them stuck in different areas of their lives.
It must take a long time to design the whole retreat.
I designed the retreat... So the retreat that I have been running, which has been our self-love retreat, which has really been for women to help them heal their relationship with food and their bodies and learn to love themselves. That retreat I designed 4 years ago. And because I designed it 4 years ago, we got the villa sorted, we got the catering sorted, I got all the workshops written and designed. Every time I've run it since then, which I've done like 30 retreats, it just means that I can evolve it. So it doesn't mean that I have to redesign it every single time. It's just, okay, what worked well last time? What do I think this group need more of a focus on? What do they need less of a focus on? What new exercises can I add in? And then it just evolves rather than me needing to start completely from scratch each time.
Do you get a lot of repeat business? Sorry.
So with the retreats, no, because it's kind of like you come, you do a program, and then that's it. You are hopefully have had a big transformation and you go back to your normal lives. But then this next retreat that I'm starting to put on, which is called the Wild Feminine Retreat, it's about women really connecting with their sensuality again, their sexuality, their pleasure, a lot of embodiment work, deeper into the spiritual realms. These women that are coming on this retreat, a lot of them will have already been to the self-love retreat, and this is like the next step for them. Yeah. And
you've transitioned, right? Health eating psychologist coach, and now more into the sex therapy, the word now? Or is that the correct terminology?
Yeah,
or
sex, love and relationships. So yeah, I'm training in Tantra. And I'd love to work with couples one day as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a very, I'm not trying to be funny, I'm sure it's a very in-demand service.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there have very poor sex lives, I'm presuming, and a lot of people close to us. So you're deep diving into that?
Yeah, well, it's all really connected, I've worked with so many women over the years on food issues and body image issues, and it's so connected to how we feel about ourselves sexually and how much we allow ourselves pleasure. There's a lot of people that have a lot of sexual trauma and shame. A lot of women really struggle to receive. They think that their whole experience in the bedroom is about performance or about giving to their partner, and they're not allowed their own pleasure. They are terrified of masturbation. It's just so taboo, and so there's so much shame there. And I really think that having a healthy sexuality is a really important part of our health and well-being. And I think it's just as important as meditating or going to the gym or eating well. I think it should be a part of that same conversation.
Do you think if you have a problem with food, a bit of a disorder, that you probably have a problem in your sex life?
I think it's highly likely, yeah. The two are very much correlated. There's a lot of, I mean, it's, you know, how we do one thing is often how we do everything, because our relationship with food is really just about our relationship with ourselves. There's deeper issues going on underneath the surface, which then will probably ripple out into other areas of our life, whether that is sex, whether that is relationships, whether that is money, business, friendships.
Yeah, it's I suppose there's many parts of what we do, just say sport, sex, food, and people often say, because I love sports and play it all my life, and a lot of people say the way a person handles themselves on playing fields says a lot about their character. But it's the same can be said, it's just say someone's eating habit, it can say something about your character. But on that side of it, you know, if you look at just say players on the field who are wholehearted players, there's a good chance like people like that are going to be good businessmen or women, you know, because they'll put their heart and soul into it. You know, if someone is kind of a dosser, takes it easy, like they're probably going to be dossing other areas of life. Finances are probably poor, relationship might be. So I'm not talking to the general public, but I'm just saying there might be a chance, and you know better than me. It just everything seems connected.
It really is. And just like, you know, junk food, just like going out and having junk food, you know, a lot of people are having junk sex, you know, sex without meaning, sex without any real nourishment or satisfaction. Yeah, and then ultimately it leaves us feeling the same way. It leaves us feeling guilty, shit, ashamed, like, why did I do that? That didn't feel good. I didn't really get any meaning. There wasn't really any connection there, you know. But when we actually, you know, when we're actually holding out for meaningful sexual experiences with real connection, you know, that's the equivalent of, like, you know, going and taking the time and spending like a really you know, nice amount of time cooking yourself a really delicious meal. It's like you feel so much more satisfied and fulfilled afterwards. You feel that you've actually given yourself something good for your body and your soul. Yeah,
for sure. And just to go back to your books, Mel, I was doing obviously the research inside. What's the main differentiator between The Goddess Revolution and Hungry for More?
Yeah, so the Goddess Revolution is really aimed at yo-yo dieters. So it's aimed at anyone that has been a yo-yo dieter their whole life or had an eating disorder, and it's basically breaking down all the reasons why diets don't work and how we can actually heal our relationship with food instead. So it's a heavy focus on diets, heavy focus on binge eating and healing our relationship with food and our bodies. And then Hungry for More dives a little deeper. So Hungry for More is kind of how the title would suggest. It's about figuring out what we're actually hungry for on a deeper level, like on an emotional level, on a spiritual level. So the idea is you read The Goddess Revolution first, and then Hungry for More takes you a little deeper into your subconscious and helps you hopefully understand what your cravings are really pointing to. So Hungry for More is a book less really about food and more about life.
Yeah. We won't have long to go now, but there's one area you could say this is absolute bollocks, or you might find it interesting. Do you know a girl called Michaela Peterson?
Yes.
Jordan Peterson?
Jordan Peterson's daughter. Yeah, the meat diet.
Yeah, the carnivore diet she has. Because like she had a traumatic upbringing and her immune system was just terrible, and anytime she had something to eat, that like her skin would flare or her depression would come back, and then she just transformed into this lion diet is her business, just red meat and eggs. And like I've heard people say, whether it's just people supporting her and her business, that it's phenomenal for depression and stuff like that. But what do you think of the whole diet? Like, it seems a bit untrue, too good to be true.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, you know, specific very specific diets like that can have great results for specific people. It's definitely not going to work for everyone. Everyone's body type is very different, and I imagine if that diet was tried by the masses, it wouldn't work for everyone. You know, I think a lot of research is now showing that, you know, we really need a healthy diet of lots of plants, lots of natural foods, you know, whole foods, foods grown in the ground or on trees. You know, that's kind of that's like really well studied and documented now. In terms of like these really extreme diets that are working for some people, I think, you know, great. I don't know if it's still going to be working for her in 5 years. You know, I think any extreme diets like that, you've got to really ask yourself, like, is this how I want to live for the rest of my life? Like, is this sustainable for my entire life? And also, is this something that I would want to pass down to the next generation? Like, I always think, like, if I had kids, would I want them to eat how I eat? You know, would I say, no, that's not healthy, this is what you're going to do instead? You know, so if you are on an extreme diet, you know, are you proud to talk about it? Are you proud to pass that down to the younger generation? Or do you think that's irresponsible?
Yeah, I know, like, there's no way it'd be sustainable for the masses. Like, there's just no way, like, your social skills would just go plummet. You know, nobody would want to go out with you, you know.
And it's a lot of animals getting killed. Like, it's just, you know, I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian, but like the effect that if everyone was doing that diet, the effect that would have on the planet, like, not good. I might try it just as a human guinea pig project. I think there's no problem, or I think I'd advise anyone to mess around like a small bit and not looking at it, right, this is my life change, I'm going on a carnivore diet and I'm just eating meat. But like, there's no harm in being a guinea pig every so often and just trying new things and just see what they're actually like, just for your own peace of mind. Maybe you should probably do tests before you start doing that kind of diet, like, because well, you know, I think you're right. Like, it's good for people to try things out and see what works and what doesn't. But ultimately, we need to learn from our own bodies. Like, our bodies are our greatest teacher. They're our greatest ally, and our bodies have so much wisdom. And we need to stop getting advice off the internet, and we need to start actually listening to what our bodies tell us that they like and what they don't like. You know, we need to listen to how is our energy throughout the day. You know, eating the way that we're currently eating, what is our energy like? Are we crashing and burning? Are we always feeling tired? Is our skin breaking out? Are we struggling to digest our food? Are we struggling to go to the toilet? Like, you know, are we struggling to wake up in the mornings? Like, are we irritable? What's our energy like throughout the day? Like, all of these are signs that our body's trying to communicate with us. And when we start changing our food, we start eating better, we start taking better care of ourselves, our body responds. And if we can actually tune in and listen to what we're getting, we can be our own gurus. You know, we don't need to find a diet on the internet. We can find our own way. Exactly.
Yeah. I like to fast. You know, I usually eat between, you know, the 16:8, where like I eat between 8:30 and 4:30 in the day. I was always an early eater anyway. I never eat late. I just put a bit more discipline, but it suits me. You know, it doesn't bother me, and I wake up in the morning sometimes feeling lighter on my feet. You know.
Yeah. And you got to find what works for you.
Exactly. You know? There's no one recipe fits all. You know.
Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing with diets is, you know, a lot of people face, you know, doing the diet and then finding themselves binging. You know, doing this diet, being really good on track,
trying to fit into a dress or a suit for a wedding or something.
Well, you know, something like that, or just like trying to lose a few pounds, and as soon as they've gone off track, like as soon as they've eaten a biscuit or a bag of crisps or something like that, they go, oh right, well, that's it, the end, may as well have 20 more unhealthy choices, start on Monday. And that's where it's really damaging, because then you find yourself in this on-off diet binge yo-yo diet, right? So if you find a way that works for you, if fasting works for you, great, as long as there's not the repercussions of you finding yourself having crazy enormous cheat meals to counteract it, you know.
I find that I'm kind of on top of it, but like, well, the next day I find when you have just your cheat day, whatever, tonight now, I don't, today I just felt like eating a bit of shit food, so I usually kind of leave it till Friday or Saturday, and I would have a fairly strong diet, but today I just felt like, you know what, I actually feel like getting a bit of junk food today. And I always, before it's like, think, right, I'll wait out till Friday or Saturday, but it's actually not sustainable. Like, if you feel like having a Chinese on a Tuesday night, I think you should just have it, and obviously get back to work then and the rest of the week and whatever you do.
Yeah, well, if you like hold off for it and you say, right, I'm gonna have that on, you know, Sunday, let's say, you've spent all week salivating over it, glorifying it, looking forward to it, and you're kind of training yourself to look forward to eating shit, you know, and really you want to train yourself to look forward to eating healthy. Otherwise you're just going to keep loving eating shit food, and you're going to keep seeing healthy food as this chore and this punishment. And really, like, what we need to do is like allow ourselves to actually enjoy healthy food and nutritious food, and actually not look forward to having junk food.
Exactly,
you know? Exactly.
What I find the next day after your cheat day is whatever that sugar, that's cravings that's still in your system, it's just, you know, after just say you have a Chinese and have some chocolate or whatever and Coke, Coca-Cola that is, the next day just your body urges that sugar a small bit more. Do you ever have that problem, like just the next morning or something? Yeah, I wouldn't mind something sweet again because it's still in my system from last night, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is addictive, you know. These companies know what they're doing, you know. That's why they're so big and so successful. They are containing definitely addictive chemicals, addictive qualities. Our bodies get hooked and we just want more and more. But, you know, the great thing is about eating healthy is your body also gets hooked on feeling good. You know, the more energy your body has, the more your body you want to maintain that, you know. So most people don't realize how great they can feel when they're eating really well and when they're taking care of themselves and exercising.
It's ridiculous. Like, my mother lost 7 stone in the last 2 years. It's like her life has just completely changed. We're actually so proud of her now at home, like, and all of us are, like, because she was really struggling with her knees and stuff like that, and she's retiring next year, and like she's retiring now with unbelievable energy rather than the other way around, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so like
it's never too late. For sure.
No, like, she's 61 or 60 this year, so like it's no matter how old you are, no matter how banged up your metabolism is, you can always make a change. So, mate, I think we're at the end now. Unfortunately, you're heading away to Costa Rica. You're leaving us in the UK, but I hope you're all excited for that. And anything else? Any other plans before you head away? Any other things we can look forward to?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of planning my event at the moment. So I run a weekend event in London called the Self-Love Summit. It's a really empowering, imagine like a seminar, but fully female and all about self-love, and very empowering and inspiring. We have lots of different speakers come in, different panelists come in. We have dancing, we have singing, like, it's just a really empowering weekend.
Yeah.
So I've been running that. This is the 3rd year, so I'm in
tickets on sale on Eventbrite.
Tickets are on sale on Eventbrite, exactly.
Yeah. We can go onto your Instagram. We'll link your Instagram anyway to the bottom of the show notes. And Mel, thanks a lot. It's been a very interesting conversation. It was great having you on. Thanks for taking the time, and best of luck.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye now. Bye.